Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Sunset Safari. For Safari Live, I'm coming to you from the Sabi Sands in Djuma. My name is Noelle, and on camera, I would like to welcome back Jean-Dre. We have not been together for some time, so it's nice to have him back on board. And I would like to welcome the Riverside Schools. Hi, everybody. Welcome to what I believe is your very first drive with us. Now, what Jean-Dre had on camera earlier is some nests. They're weavers' nests. And they are not new, they're a little bit old and quite intricately done. So what they do is the males go and they find the most specific piece of grass, and then they go and they weave them together to form these nests. Now these look like spectacled weavers to me, this special kind of bird, and I'm going to find it in my book so you can see. And the reason why I say they're not in use at the moment is because they're not full there at the bottom, they're sort of they're falling apart. If they were still in use, they would look much nicer because the males take great pride in them. Now, my friend Ralph is up in the Masai Mara, which is about 1,600 kilometers northeast from where I am, and he has another bird that he would like to show you live on Safari Live.
Hello and welcome everybody to another Sunset Safari. We are coming to you live from Kenya in Africa, just 1 degree south of the equator, and you are watching Safari Live. And my name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera I have my trusty wingman Archie. How's it, Archie? Now please don't forget to send us your questions and your comments to the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. We'd love for you to be involved in the largest game drive in the world. Now we are in the Mara Triangle, to be exact, in the Greater Mara National Reserve, and we've just come down the Olololo escarpment, and what a big wonderful herd of buffalo we have here. They're all just moving across. It's not too hot at the moment. It's probably about 25 degrees centigrade, around lower 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but this lovely great big herd of buffalo. Now this is the Cape buffalo that we're talking about, quite similar to that of the bison that you might find in America. And welcome to the Riverside School that has joined us from Massachusetts. Please send your questions and comments through your teacher, and please, we'd love for you to be involved. Now look at these little birdies as well that are all just catching a ride on the backs of the buffalo. They're looking for the little parasites and things that might be attached onto the buffalo. They're not actually biting them. They're picking off those little things, and they actually eat blood. So that's what those little birdies are doing. And they serve a nice purpose for the buffalo, helping in keeping the little parasites, which are quite an irritation to the buffalo. And they also help them alarm if there's a predator around. So they're very useful to the buffalo indeed. And that's why they allow them to hang on and catch a ride, and they don't worry about them at all. I think they quite enjoy them, sometimes climbing right inside their ears. But you can see how full of mud a lot of them are, because they really enjoy lying in the mud. And what that does is it cools them off when it's very hot, but then it also cakes on their body like it has there, and then they might go rub up against the tree, and that also helps in getting rid of the ticks that might be hanging on to the buffalo. So my plan for this afternoon is to head down towards the marsh area. We'll see if we can find some lions, and then we'll go and maybe catch up with the hyena den and see what they're up to. Now, I think we're going to head on over back to South Africa. And James has also got some little parasites and ticks to show you.
I hope I don't have parasites and ticks. If I do, they're sitting on me. Hello everybody, my name is James, and I'm lying in the grass. And I'm lying in the grass because over here, of course, it's Friday afternoon. I'm not still at school, which is rather marvellous. Don't worry, your school day will be over sooner than you think, and you'll be able to go home and enjoy the weekend. Won't that be nice? Now, what we have over here is quite a special flower. I think it is a hibiscus species. Now, it won't look like a hibiscus you've probably ever seen before, But a hibiscus plant is those enormous flowers you find in a place like Hawaii. Then you'll understand what I mean. There's big red flowers. This is an African version of the same thing, just much smaller. And I think it's a species called Hibiscus macrantha. Now, this time of the year, when you find flowers like this, they're a bit of a gold mine if you like looking for smaller things, because you'll find all sorts of insects on them, trying to harvest nectar or pollen, or perhaps trying to even catch aphids that are sitting on the leaves. And if I ask Senzor, who is on camera today, say hello, Senzor. If I ask him to come closer, we might be able to see some ants. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of species of ant that live around here, and some of them, yeah, here we go. There's a tiny little one there. Can you see it there, Senz? There it is. Just follow my finger. Got it? There it is. Running up the stalk, and I think what this one is looking for is aphids. Now, aphids are sort of plant parasites much more than they are human parasites. I guess almost like ticks for plants. He's over here still. Somewhere around there. Turn. And just remember, kids, you're not really kids anymore. You're becoming sort of, adolescents, really. You can send us your questions. Ask your teacher to ask us, not teach us, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you might have. You can ask us any questions you like about what we're seeing, or anything in general about Africa and the wilderness and being in a big game area like the Sabi Sands in South Africa or the Masai Mara in Kenya. All right, so that's Hibiscus macrantha. Ooh, before we leave, I'm going to try one more here. Oh, he's gone. It was a little stingless bee, and they make a very sour honey, actually. Okay, let's carry on. While we carry on here, we're going to walk down towards the waterhole and see what's at the waterhole. There we go, Senzo got himself caught there. Let's go back across to Noel, who is still driving through the bush looking for interesting things.
I'm still looking about. So where we saw those weaver's nests earlier is where we had a male leopard with a steenbok kill. A steenbok's a tiny little antelope, like a mini deer, very similar. And now I'm going back to where he made his other kill this morning, which was a baby warthog. So we're checking to see if we can find him. This male is a new male for our area. We're not quite sure exactly how old he is. His name is Hukumuri, which means chicken medicine, but James tells a better story about the chicken medicine than I can, so we might have to ask about that. So he's busy trying to come in and take over territory from Tingana, who is our main territorial male. And this morning he was fighting with another male that lives a little bit farther north from us, whose name is Djuma. So we've had a lot of male leopard activity. And my friend Tristan, who's out and about, he actually knows the leopards so well here. He knows all their stories and lineages. And he's looking for Tingana's son at the moment. And I'm hoping he finds him. So what I'm doing now as I'm looking for this leopard is I'm trying to take myself back to where I was this morning, and I'm looking for the vehicle tracks where we moved. And so all I'm seeing is sort of imprints of the tire tracks a little bit, but then also where the flattened grass is, and then also just trying to remember what landmarks I saw as I was driving along through here. So what this tree looks like, what that termite mound looks like. It's all very technical. It's like, and I'm using that word a little bit sarcastically. So, Kate, I believe you're asking about fire. Do we get fire out here? Kate, we do get fires, but not fire ants. Oh, Kate, you're wondering if we have fire ants? Kate, we don't have fire ants that are bad like the ones that you'll get in the States, especially in Texas, where you have to put that meat tenderizer on to get rid of them. We do have some biting and stinging ants, but nothing as bad as the ones you are thinking of. James is very good with his ants, and because he's on bushwalk, I bet he's going to run into some. I think I have a stick stuck in my car. And we get a special kind of ant called a matabele ant that doesn't have a hive or a nest, and moves from place to place and place with her queen and goes and raids other ant and nests and also termites, mounds and things like that. We've got many, many different types there. All right, now, Cara, good question. You'd like to know, are there lots of leopards in South Africa? So, Cara, leopards are quite elusive. They can be quite shy. It's very hard to count them. In the area that we're in, which is the greater Kruger area, we have a very high density of leopards because we have a very high density of most species. We've got the largest carrying capacity per acre in South Africa here in this area where we are because of the type of soil that we have that broke down from, maybe we might get to see the Drakensberg Mountains today and over towards the Blyde River Canyon. There's a very special mix of sedimentary and igneous rock that broke down over time and that made it possible for this type of soil to be here, which is very nutritious, which lends for very good grass, very good trees, and then thus you can have a lot of prey species and then a lot of predators. All right, now we're going to head back to James Hendry, who's out on walk, and we'll see if maybe he can find some ants for all of you while I look for this leopard.
Well, I'll try and find you a bit more than just a few ants. We're sitting here with a plant that many of our regular viewers know very well, and it's often a plant on which mantids will live. But I can't see any mantids on this flower at the moment. It's called Waltheria indica, so it doesn't have an English name. That's just its Latin name. And I'm just seeing if I can't find some sort of creature here for you. No. Let's go through this clearing while I answer Michael's question. Michael, you say, how hot is it in South Africa at this time of the year? Well, South Africa is quite varied. Imagine, if you take the northern tip of South Africa down to the southern tip, so if you go from Beitbridge, which I guess must be our pretty much northern point, down to Cape Agulhas, which would be the southern point, it's probably about the size of, about the size of Texas, I think, South Africa. No, it's a bit bigger than that, in fact. So it's quite varied. Up here, we're in the northeastern parts of the country, we're only about 400 meters above sea level, so about 1,400 feet or so it gets very hot indeed. It'll go up to 40 degrees Celsius quite often. That's just over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it gets very hot here. But there are parts of the country down in the the mountainous regions, down in the sort of central to southern parts, that will seldom get up above sort of 26 degrees or so, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So, it really does vary quite a lot. We're in one of the hottest places in South Africa here, regularly pushes over 100 at this time of the year. Maya, you say, will the animals attack me? Well, Maya, the other question you should ask yourself is, do I have a death wish? Am I out here in order to have an extreme sporting moment? And the answer is no. The animals could attack you if you threaten them sufficiently. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that anybody makes about any wild area, and that goes for Alaska, it goes for the jungles of South America, it goes for this area here, it goes for any wilderness area in the world just about. They are dangerous only if you don't understand them. If you understand that animals largely see us, yes, even us, as predators, then they are not dangerous because you can predict how animals will behave. If I see an elephant standing there, he will react to me in a way that shows that he is afraid. If I then remove myself away from that situation so that I no longer pose a threat to him, he will almost always leave me alone. But if I walk up to him and he turns and he faces me and opens his ears out and says, "Back off," and I just keep going towards him, well, eventually he's going to get irritated enough to attack. So very few animals out here will attack you just for the sake of attacking you. Okay, we're going to continue to look for interesting creatures on flowers and perhaps one or two antelope things. We're going to hand you back 1,600 miles to the north to Ralph Kirsten. He is driving around on his way to the marsh.
Thanks, James. And, well, it seems that it's very hot back in South Africa, and it's not as hot here in Kenya at the moment. But you would think, because we are so close to the equator, that it would be very tropical here where we are, just 1 degree south of the equator, in fact. But because we are so high in altitude above sea level, it's not that hot, actually. So we're about 1,600 meters above sea level, which is relatively high. I know Johannesburg area is also quite high in that similar type of height above sea level. Now, Miss Stiegel, you want to know what kind of day it is here? It's a little bit overcast, it's quite breezy, and it's rather cool, actually. So, we have every opportunity that maybe the predators are going to be a little bit active, and that means we might find some lions and hyenas, etc. Now, the time here is exactly 5:15, so it's a little bit in the later afternoon, but as I say, quite cool, and we're just hoping that the further we go down towards the marsh or the swampy area down towards the Mara River, which is that tree line that you see off there in the distance, that's where we might be able to find some lions and maybe some elephant, and who knows, maybe even a black rhino, and we'll hope for a little leopard walking out of the grass. But we just have to be positive. Now, Jaden, you want to know what is the biggest animal that I've seen? Well, on this particular drive, when we started now, it was those buffalo that we started with, and there was a lot of them around as well. But I'm sure that as we go further down, we'll spot some elephants, and they're one of my favorite animals, so we'll always stop nice and close to them and hopefully have a nice little experience with them as well. So, everybody, this is also one of the best areas to drive through is this lovely grassy area. And speaking of grassy area and arthropods that like to frequent in those areas, let's head you on down to James, who's got exactly one of those.
I do have a little arthropod that likes to live out here. An arthropod is an animal that has jointed segments. That's what arthropod means. And so it includes insects like this one. And it includes crustaceans, of course, which would be the crabs and that sort of thing. And it includes, what else? The arachnids, which would be the spiders. This is a grasshopper, and he's called an elegant grasshopper. And you can see why. He's got a quite remarkable array of colours, including greens and yellows and reds and oranges, blacks and whites. And all of that coloration means that he is toxic. And because he is toxic, he's actually very slow moving for a grasshopper. Because most animals will not try and eat him. Most birds, which would eat grasshoppers normally, will avoid him because he'll make them sick. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you, I'm just going to ask Senzo to zoom out, and then I'm going to turn him around. I'll do that. What you can see here, this is a youngster. He's not an adult grasshopper. And we know that because he's got very small wing buds. See that? Okay. There you go. So those small wing buds there indicate that he's not yet an adult. He's not able to fly yet, so he must only hop. And even the adults don't really fly, but the small wing buds interestingly show that he's a youngster. Now we'll just see if he jumps. Isn't he a wonderful creature? He is the most beautiful little animal. And you know, so often when people talk about Africa or coming to Africa or being in Africa, they think about lions and leopards and giraffes and buffalo and that sort of thing. And yet, here we have a gorgeous tiny creature. Nobody ever comes to Africa and asks to see a grasshopper, which is a pity. What they do often like to see, of course, is the kind of pig that Noel has got.
I do have a kind of pig in the order Suidae. I just like saying Suidae. This is a warthog. It is one of two types of pigs that we get here in the wild. This one and something that is called a bush pig. It is not something we see often here, a bush pig. It's a little bit more red and has a little white crest. The one that we see most often is this warthog here. The last bush pig I've seen was at night, maybe about an hour's drive north from where we are right now. Now, these warthogs, as you can see, we're busy having a little drink out of that mud pan there. And it's a mum with two piglets. Oh, that one's getting in the water. He's so hot. It's about 82 degrees Fahrenheit here at the moment. It is a very warm afternoon, and it's slightly humid. We had a little bit of rain yesterday. Maya, very good question. You'd like to know if the small animals can use camouflage. Maya, they can indeed. So those warthogs there are sort of gray color, and they're sticking out a lot right now. But what they'll do is they'll go and lie in the shade underneath a bush, and that will help them to camouflage quite a bit. And then they've caught a fright and run off. They're very good at making sure to move quickly. Alexis, very, very, very good question, Alexis. So I went to university, I studied anthropology, and then I moved over to Africa about 12, 13 years ago. And I then did guide training here in South Africa, and we study everything. You study birds, you study weather, you study plants, you study flowers, you study insects, geology, everything. And then we have, in South Africa, we have something called FAGASA, which is the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, which not everyone uses, but most of us do. And we have different exams that we go through. And then it's all about practicing your craft, and then you learn something new every day. I learn something new every day, and you're practicing, and you can read a lot out of books, but a lot of what we know has to do with spending time out here. So that's how we studied. I think James actually studied a little bit different when he started off than how myself and Tristan would have studied. And then if you want to go into something like research, then you would probably go and get a nature conservation degree, or maybe go into ethnology or biology or marine biology, depending on what you wanted to do. But for us, specifically for a guide, the first steps I told you is what I did, and then I've been guiding for just over a decade now, and I still love it every single day. It's absolutely fabulous. Okay, we've had no luck with our leopard. He wasn't at he killed the steenbok. Then we went back to where he killed the warthog. It wasn't there. I think the hyenas took it, and he wasn't there. So we're going to go check one of the water holes and see if he's around there, because it's hot and maybe he's thirsty. But I have a feeling he's in the thick, deep bush having a sleep. Leopards can't sweat like we do, so they tend to be less active during the heat of the day. Sorry there, Kirst, I missed you. If you wouldn't mind sending that again. Now my friend Tristan is up and running on the southern side of the property, and he would like to say hello, so I think let's head on over to him.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and especially a warm welcome to the school that has joined us this afternoon. And, well, I'm not quite on the southern side of the property yet. We've been just fiddling about with our vehicle, but what I can see already, which is quite nice, is a big grey pachyderm. So, as Noel mentioned, my name is Tristan Dix, and on camera today I've got a Wiem. There we go. There's Wiem the wildebeest. And we've got a big elephant in front of us, which is wonderful news. And it's quite close to where James is and walking around. So I suppose I should warn James at some point. But there in front of me on the road, I'm going to park in this shade because it's a little hot today. So I'm going to just stop right there. And there is our big elephant, and he's busy feeding off some marulas. So the tree that he's sitting under has got a beautiful little fruit that is falling from it at the moment, and that fruit is absolutely tasty. And so you find the elephants love it, particularly these big males. They like to come and they like to pick up those big fruits, well, small fruits, should I say, for an elephant. If you're an elephant, those are very small, and then they just pop them into their mouths. And maybe James can try and find a fruit for all of you to show you, because, well, I can't get out near the elephant, because getting out near an elephant is not the cleverest thing to do at all. They can be quite dangerous, so you've got to just kind of give them a bit of a wide berth, particularly if you're on foot. But look at how he uses his trunk just to smell and to sniff around. And what he's trying to do is smell all the ripe fruits. And so as he does that, he takes his trunk, smells the ripe fruit, and then he'll just suck it up and he'll put it into his mouth, and then he'll feed on them. Now, interestingly enough, with these marula fruits, is you'll find that this elephant won't actually eat the fruit until it's kind of gone into a pulp. All he does is he takes the fruit, he pops it into his mouth, and he squeezes down with his big crusher-like teeth, and that splits the skin of this marula fruits. And inside there is a lot of liquid. There's very little flesh. There's a lot of liquid. And so as he breaks it open, so that liquid goes in, and he gets a nice, nutritious drink more than anything else. That's where all the nutrients is, all the sugars, and all kinds of other things. Now, I can see something else that is right next to me that is very cool. Actually, VM spotted it, but that is a little steenbok. So we've gone from the really biggest of the big, which is a male elephant, to the smallest antelope that we see here in this sort of southern parts of South Africa in the Kruger National Park. And this is a big dominant male. So he is territorial dominant, which means that this area here over here is his. So he's going to scent mark, he's going to make sure that he keeps this area for himself, and he'll try and get a mate in this particular section. And if he does get a mate, it's like a married couple, they'll stay together forever. Michael, you're wondering if animals ever die from the heat. So, Michael, generally no. And the reason why in this area they don't is because of the fact that the temperatures really need to get very extreme for an animal to die from heat. Also, there needs to be a lack of water with that to cause them to die. If they can find water and they can find shade, then generally they can cope with even extreme temperatures. So there goes the elephant in the background. So you can see the size difference between the two. Massive elephant on the right and tiny little steenbok on the left. But they don't have to worry about each other because both of them are herbivores. They both just eat grasses and various other things. So the little steenbok doesn't have to worry. But back to the sort of temperature thing. They don't have to worry too much as long as they can get shade and water. This particular animal, though, the steenbok, is probably the individual that can handle heat the best. It doesn't actually even need to find water. It will get water just from the dew on the ground. But look, it's also looking for little marula fruits like the elephant was. Right, well, I'm going to carry on and see what else I can go and find all of you. While I do that, let's send you back across to my friend James, who's playing about with some arachnids.
Well, this is not an arachnid, everyone. It is a wasp. And it's a very special kind of wasp that likes to catch spiders. And so it's called a spider hunting wasp, and what it's looking for is Africa's equivalent of the tarantula, and that is a baboon spider, and it lives in a hole in the ground. And this wasp will paralyze the spider and then lay its eggs inside the body, or the undead body, if you like, of the spider. It's really quite scary if you happen to be the spider. Christopher, you say, is it scary touching bugs? You know, that's a very good question, because when I started in the bush, I came from the city, and I'm not someone who grew up in a wild area or a wilderness area, and that means that I was actually quite squeamish about touching bugs and insects and other things like that. But as I got more and more used to it and learnt which ones might bite me, and there are very few that will bite you, and which ones don't smell so good, and very few that don't smell so good, I got used to it, and then it wasn't so much an issue for me. Now, Tristan's elephant actually has just popped up onto the scene. Oh, has he caught something? He's digging. Look at this. I'm just going to keep my eye on the elephant, which is coming our way. Just keep looking at the wasp there. Looks like she's stinging something. This is amazing. We've been standing here with her for quite some time. She's definitely trying to sting something. See, her sting is on the back end of her there, and it's a modified, what we call ovipositor, and that's just a sort of spike through which she lays her eggs. She's definitely found something over there. Let's keep watching. This is very special, everyone. We don't get to see this often, and I know it's not something enormous, but it's fascinating. Michael, you're wondering about poisonous animals, and I'm going to assume you mean venomous as well. Poisonous means if you eat it, like that grasshopper, for example. That grasshopper is a poisonous animal that we looked at. A venomous animal is something like a snake or a scorpion, which will sting you. If you ate them, you'd be fine, but if they sting you or bite you, then they can envenomate you and you can become quite sick. So there are lots of snakes out here. There are plenty of scorpions. Most of them will move away from us faster than we can see them. Well, Michaela, you say, why doesn't the wasp fly? Well, the wasp can fly and does fly, but obviously its prey is on the ground there, you see. And so what she's doing now is trying to dig the spider out of its hole and then sting it and render it paralyzed. I wonder also if she hasn't found the entrance to a trapdoor spider's nest. Now, a trapdoor spider is a spider that has it's got a nest in the ground that it makes a very clever little door to put over the top of. And maybe she's trying to lift the door. Okay, we're going to wait here with this wasp. I think it's time for you to go back to the Mara for a little while. We'll wait and see what happens with this wasps and tell you about it when you come back from the Mara with Ralph.
Thank you, and look at this, everybody. There's a tiny little baby elephant walking nice and close to mommy, but he's been quite naughty. He's been running up and down, playing with his little sibling, and well, look at that. Beautiful. So there was that question earlier, are we going to see any big animals, or have we seen any? Well, this is the biggest animal out here, and that is the African elephant. Now, Maya, you want to know if elephants travel in herds? Yes, they do, Maya. They have a matriarch, which is a female leader of the group, and she is in charge of the herd, and it's probably that one that was in front with the little baby. She's most likely the leader of this little herd. But you can have small herds that join up into bigger herds as well, and sometimes elephants can even be in their thousands in places. Sometimes here in the Mara we do see them in their hundreds, but at the moment we're just seeing them split up a little bit. But look how cute that little one is. It is very nice to see such a small one, very close to its mommy, but also playing around with his little brother or sister. Elijah, you want to know if I've ever been chased by an elephant? Elijah, yes, I have a couple of times, but mostly because it was my fault and I surprised the elephants, and so they gave me a little bit of a warning, and then when I tried to leave, they chased me away. But that was all my fault. Elephants aren't nasty animals. They're very clever, very intelligent, and they aren't just aggressive towards people for no reason. So I was in the wrong, and I very quickly said sorry and got out of the way of them, as you should do, because they can be dangerous because they are so big. But we just be careful and we watch their body language. And look at that. Look, you see that little liquid coming out from on the side of the behind the eye? That's from a temporal gland, and that's very normal for them to do that. Right, everybody, I'm going to continue on, see if I can find some more elephants. But while I'm doing that, let's head you on back to South Africa and James, who's on foot.
Now, our wasp flew off. It gave up. Can you see where I'm pointing here? This is what it was having a go at. And I have to tell you, there's something living in here, and I don't know what it is. But in order to discover it, I'm going to have to kind of dig it up. And my worry is that I'm going to disturb it and that it will not survive the disturbance. But I'm afraid I'm so fascinated by what this thing is that I'm going to do it anyway in the hopes that it will be able to rebuild its home. And I will apologize to it. It's a spider. It is a spider. There's a baby. This, everybody, is a nest of spiders. It's an egg sac. So there are lots of spiders inside this egg sac. And it's not a baboon spider. I don't know what kind of spider it is. I'm going to put it back there. It's a spider's egg sac. And obviously that spider hunting wasp knows that, and it was looking for the spiders. Excuse me. One of the spiders did come out. Let me just, now that I've opened it, I'm going to open it again and just see if we can't find something more obvious in there. I'm pretty sure it was dug by a spider, this. Now, I'm going to say to you that you should do as I say, not as I do. What I've done here is I've created a disturbance. And that's not the idea out here. The idea is that we don't disturb something like this. But sometimes, if you're trying to make some kind of discovery, then it is necessary to make a little bit of a disturbance, but ideally you want to come into the wilderness and respect it sufficiently that you don't have to. I'm going to put this grass down here now and see if there isn't an adult spider that I can just try and identify for you. No, I don't know what kind of spider this is. I don't think it's too small to be a baboon spider. Fascinating. All right, well, we'll put this back in here. Let's go back up to Noelle. She's not too far that way, probably only about a mile away, and see her very special antelope.
Thanks, James. I've got two antelope species for you. The one that you can see in the forefront is a Nyala, N-Y-A-L-A, and the ones in the background and also to the right are Impala, I-M-P-A-L-A. Now, in our area, Nyala and Impala are both very common species of antelopes. Now, the Impala live in quite large herds in general. They don't have to be large, but in our area, they're quite large. The Nyalas tend to be in much smaller groups. There's the little Nyala. So the Nyalas have stripes. It helps them camouflage into the environment. We were asking about some of the smaller species earlier. How do they camouflage? Those stripes break up the body shape. It's called disruptive markings, as well as those little dots. And then for the Impala, the type of camouflage that they have is a couple of reasons how they blend in with camouflage. One is that they all blend in together. They all look exactly the same. The other is when they lie down, not flat, but they sort of tuck their legs under each other on the ground, they can blend into the surroundings like that. But their main type of camouflage is to sort of stick together, and it's very difficult for a predator to pick just one out of the herd, and that's how a predator hunts. Now, Impalas, to me, they're one of the most common antelopes we see, but they're one of the most beautiful. They can jump over 2 meters high, so they can jump over 6 foot high, and they can jump over 10 meters wide, so over 30 foot, so it's 10 yards, pretty much, 10 yards wide. And they're incredible like that. So what happens when they get hunted is the predator will run in, and then they dive bomb out of the way, and then also do those leaps and bounds. Very similar to a lot of your deer species that you would see. If you're coming from Massachusetts, you get white-tailed deer out in the woods there. White-tailed deer and Impala are relatively similar in size. They also have a very special marking at the back two hooves. You can see in the middle one there, that little black marking. That's called a metatarsal gland. Impalas have those. They're the only antelope that have them. All the other species that have them are deer in North America and Europe. And that's a remnant from when there used to be a common ancestor between the deer and the Impala. Now, don't forget, everyone, we are live and interactive, #SafariLive. And kiddos, you can send through those questions as much as you would like. We love hearing from you. Michaela, excellent question. Impalas eat leaves and grass. They're a mixed feeder. It's one of the reasons why impalas always look so healthy. Because if we're having any problems, say a drought, like a couple of years ago we had a drought and the grass was all gone, but the leaves were still good. They ate the leaves. This time of year we have good grass and good leaves, so they can eat both. And that helps them to stay nice and fit and healthy. Those Nyalas that we saw eat mostly leaves and a tiny, tiny little bit of grass. So mixed feeders for the impalas and browsers with a bit of mixing for the Nyalas. James has something exciting and special to show you on foot, so let's head on over to him quickly.
We've got the same elephant that Tristan had a little bit earlier. He's moved away, and he's now shaking the marula tree that he's underneath and eating the fruits that have fallen down onto the ground. Now he's probably about 80 meters or so away from us, and you're all good at maths, I'm sure. You can multiply that by 3.25 to get to the number of feet. So that's 240 plus 20 or 260 feet away from us. And he's very relaxed. I don't know if he knows that we're here. So what we'll do is just check the wind. This is just a sock with some ash in it. And you can see the ash flowing away from the elephant, so he won't be able to smell us. He could probably see us if he looked this way. Now, MJ, you want to know how long an elephant can live? Well, in this area, between 65 and 70 years probably, so they get quite old. And I'd say this guy was between 40 and 50. I think he's a pretty old bull. So if he was to turn around, see us and open his ears out and shake his head and say, go away, I wouldn't be asking any questions. I'd be disappearing very quickly. That's a 6-ton animal. That means he weighs 6,000 kilograms or about 16,000 pounds. Isn't he gorgeous? Michelle, you're wondering if baby elephants stay with their mums all the time. Yes, they do. They're not always with their mothers, but they're always in the same herd as their mothers. And so as they get older, they will spend time with their aunts and their sisters and brothers, and then the males will leave the herd eventually. So if they are bull elephants like this one, when they're 17 or 18 or so, their mothers or the oldest female in the herd will toss them out because they get a bit painful to be around, just like human beings of the same age. And then they must live on their own. But the females, so the young cows, will stay within that same herd that they were born into, often for life. Sometimes the herds will split up into smaller units, but often a female elephant will stay with her mother until the mother dies. Yeah, he's got big tusks, this fellow, and he's very heavy. He's a properly big bull. I don't think we're going to go anywhere from this elephant. I think he's great to be viewing on foot. So while we do that, let's go across to Noel, who's got a whoop whoop. Whoop whoop.
Elephants on foot is one of my favorite things, so I'm glad you all got to enjoy that with James. I've got an African hoopoe for you on screen now. Notice his beak, very long and slender. It's called a D-curved beak. It helps to probe into the ground and sometimes into trees to help pull insects out to eat them. He's a very specialized insect feeder. It also allows him to have nests in places that are quite deep cavities, so sometimes in holes in the ground and sometimes in holes in trees, and he's able to feed the babies nicely by putting the insect at the very end of his beak and then dropping it into where the nest is. Now, birds are there he flies. I was just about to say birds are a little bit difficult for us to keep on camera because they do fly away, so that was a really great sighting of that African hoopoe. I'm glad we could get that on film for you. I think we're going to carry on through here. We're going to go check one of the dams that's just up ahead and see if we can get any elephants, and then we're going to circle back around when it's a little bit cooler to see if our male leopard pops up, which will be fabulous. We're also going to keep our eyes out for anything else that might be around. Ooh, Maya, very good question. Elephants, in fact, do have predators, Maya. They have predators in the form of humans. That's one type of predator. They're hunted for sport, and they're also hunted illegally, which is called poaching, for their ivory. Their tusks that come out are your two front teeth. And there's many places in Africa, specifically East Africa, where that happens, and it's worth quite a bit of money. Then there are predators in the environment here where we're sitting if you take humans out of it. When they're teeny, teeny, tiny, could be a clan of hyenas. Spotted hyenas could take out a small elephant. The herd does protect them. Small elephants as well could be taken out by a leopard, and then large elephants from small to large can be taken down by lions. Now, everyone, we hope you enjoyed your time with us here at Safari Live. We hope you join us again. Excuse me, I'm having trouble speaking the English language today. And you must enjoy the rest of your school day, and we'll see you all soon. Oh, and now we're going to head up to Ralph and see what he has going on in the Masai Mara.
Thanks, Noel, and look what we found, everybody. This seems to be one of the marsh breakaway females that Taylor was watching this morning on the show, and you can see very swollen mammary glands, so this is a mommy as well. She's obviously got some suckling cubs, and we know those little cubs. We've seen them in this particular area. Now, I just want to make you aware there are a couple of vehicles around because it's very exciting, and we pretty much know where she's heading. She's going to go into this little thicket or sort of small forested area here that is right near the swamp, but she's probably going to walk behind some of these vehicles as she comes through, and then hopefully we might get to see some of the little cubbies. I think she's maybe making her way towards them. So very exciting, and who knows, we might get lucky and she spots a warthog somewhere. Maybe she'll even do a little bit of a hunt. She looks like she could be quite hungry, so the potential is there, but we'll have to wait and see. And that's what I was saying earlier, with this nice temperature, lots of cloud cover, a little bit of a breeze, it's always good for predators at this kind of weather. Beautiful as she's walking through the long grass there. Ever alert, always looking out for any kind of little prey that maybe she spots as she's walking through the grass. And now she's going to shortly disappear behind the vehicles. So I will reposition in a little while just to get round on the other side, and maybe we'll be able to see some of those cubs. She might come along the road a little bit as well, but I'm pretty sure I know where she's going, so I might skirt around and get around the other side and see if those little cubs are around. So everybody's nice and quiet, just waiting and seeing what she does. Okay, everyone, while I do that and reposition, see if we can spot those cubs, let's head you on back to South Africa. James is on foot with some big animals.
I'm still with my elephant, everybody. I think we're going to do a little bit of an unscheduled broadcast. Right. Good afternoon for those of you who've just joined us. We are standing here in the Sabi sands of South Africa, part of the greater Kruger National Park, 8.5 million acres of untrammeled wilderness. My name is James Henry, and I'm standing with an elephant bull on foot, and he is eating marula fruits and tossing sand on his face. Yes, that's what they do on Friday afternoons. Please ask any questions you'd like to. I'd love to hear from you while we try and get another view of this elephant. Now we're going to move very carefully. He's a big old bull. I think he's probably about 35 to 40 years, no, probably even older than that, probably between 40 and 50 years old. If he looks this way, he will probably see us, but we're a good 80 meters or so from him now. And so, should he become aware of us, we'll just kind of melt over the top of the ridge here. And what we want to make sure is that he doesn't smell us. This is a sock full of ash. It's not just for effect. And the wind's perfect for us, so it's blowing from behind us that way. We're just going to move around. There's a termite mound here that we can get towards. We'll use some cover to get there. Keep our voices nice and low, and all the time make sure that we have an escape road. David, you want to know how many pounds this fellow weighs? Well, he weighs about 6 tons. That's 6,000 kilograms. You could multiply that by 2.2, and you will get to roughly, I imagine, 16,000 pounds odd. It's quite a lot of pounds, really. 16,000. He's not to be trifled with. We'll get a nice view of him now behind this tree. Hello, Joan. You say you love elephants? Well, I love elephants too. Look, that's a beautiful view of him there. Now, these old bulls react to us in one of two ways. Sometimes they are completely calm, like this chap. And Morali, you're saying, can he sense us from this distance? Well, he can probably see us. Their eyes are not fantastic, but they're probably as good as ours are. And so, yes, we are standing sort of in the shadow, not in the shadows, but next to some trees, so we might be slightly hidden. But I think he can see us, and because he's an old bull, he's not particularly, or he's an adult bull in his prime, he's not particularly worried. He's confident. He's not afraid of us. Lisa, you want to know if they are territorial. They're not territorial at all. They're one of the few animals out here that don't mark territories. They will stick in a home range, which can change throughout their lives, but they do roam very, very widely indeed, and they're not territorial in the slightest, elephants. There's a lovely southeast wind blowing our scent away from him. I'm pretty sure he can see us, and they've also got very good ears, which means they should be able to hear us. Elena, you want to know why he's all on his own and not in a herd. In fact, there is a herd of elephants. Senzo, can you see them across there? He's not in a herd of elephants because the bulls live on their own, Elena. They don't like to live with the females and the youngsters. They join up with the herds just for mating. Otherwise, they live on their own or sometimes in a little group of bachelors. Now, that herd of elephants is some distance away, probably about 200 meters or so, 650 feet odd. Right, let's have one last look at our bull, and then we'll let you get on with your days. If you would like to continue watching us and the rest of our show, we've got people looking for leopards and somebody up in the Masai Mara with a lion. You can go to whatever, you can just go to Google and Google Safari Live and you'll find the stream that works best for you. Otherwise, you can just go to YouTube and you'll find Safari Live there. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, Ralphie has managed to outdo me this afternoon while I'm standing with this massive elephant bull, overcome with emotion at his magnificence. You and I are going to become overcome with emotion at something much smaller and cuter.
Look at that, everybody. We've been able to spot the little cubs. And this one is quite playful, getting out on top of the log. Mommy's come through, and so they've shown themselves. I'm sure they were hiding themselves behind some of this thicket and inside the logs and so on, because Mom can often go off on her own hunting, and so she'll just stash the cubs in a thicket area like this. And this marsh breakaway pride, they do frequent this thicket, and so we often find them here. But look how well this little cub is sitting out on the log. It's absolutely beautiful. This one is probably about 2 months old, I would say, maybe even not that old, maybe just going on 2 months or so, growing up nice and fast, and would probably even be having a little bit of meat substitute with Mom's milk as well. But he looks in absolutely prime condition. It's difficult to tell at this age whether it's a male or female just yet. Now, Linda, you're saying that this is awesome. I think it is absolutely stunning as well, Linda. Thanks for your comment. Thanks for getting involved. That's what it's all about. Look at that. Looking straight at us. Beautiful. Now, Madison, you're saying that your heart just melted. Well, what else can you do when you see such a pretty little youngster? They are absolutely beautiful. No scars or anything because they haven't been fighting yet. And that comes with age. At this stage of the game, it's all about play and not a care in the world. Except when they're stashed, they are quite good at just staying hidden. But now that Mom's returned, well, they aren't scared at showing themselves. And there's Mom. There she goes, but there are a few videos, as I've said. She's got a little bit of a wound on her face. That's very often down to them fighting when they're actually feeding on a carcass, and the nails and the claws get smashed into each other when they're fighting over the meat. Very often the adults have got nicks and grazes and scratches and cuts, and there she's bringing them all out now. She's actually going to take them right between the vehicles. Now, I think we're going to try and get a better view as they pass through the vehicles, and I'm going to send you on south to Noel with another little baby of a different kind.
Well, it seems to be an Impala afternoon for us, and we do have something cute. I don't know if it's as cute as a Ralph's little lion cubs, but a baby Impala at this time of year. He's a couple of months late. We're in February. Yeah, he's about 2.5 months late. So he's what we call a lot lamaki, a late lamb. And he seems to have been born maybe yesterday, I would say, from the way that he is standing and having trouble moving a little bit. And he's just teeny tiny. Now, for anyone that might be new with us here with the show, we usually see Impalas giving birth around a week to 2 weeks of each other, in the middle of November to the beginning of December. And now we're sitting, a week into 2 weeks into February, so it's very late. This is most likely because of the drought that we had last year and a half ago, which definitely affected a lot of the prey species. Oh my goodness, we quickly have to go to Tristan. He has something really, really, really special he wants to show you, and I'm going to move this spider web.
Indeed we do. So we've come to Chitwa Dam, hoping to find Hosana, and we've found him. And as we got here, he went flying past us and went into this little gully system, and he's managed to grab himself what I think is an Egyptian goose. I'm not 100% sure. We're trying to get into a better position to see, but it looks like a duck that he's grabbed, or a Egyptian goose youngster. I can't see nicely, and where it was hiding, I have no idea, because he was sniffing about, and then all of a sudden he went running, and he's kind of looking at it a bit perplexed at this stage, not quite sure what he wants to do with it, but there it is. Is it a duck? Yes, it is. It's a little Egyptian goose gosling that he's gotten. Hosana, how did you spot that? And what is it doing by itself? Now, I know some of you, it's a bit sensitive because obviously it's a little baby that's been taken, which is not ideal, and it's never nice to see that. But these poor Egyptian geese, if it's not from fish eagles and big catfish and crocodiles, it's the marauding Hosana behind Chitwa Dam wall. Now, he must have realized that there was this little gosling by itself, and it begs the question as to where's the rest of the family, because I don't see any sign of an adult goose that has flown anywhere or anything like that. And so I wonder how he managed to find this. I think let's reposition a little bit, because we're going to get a better view from back here. Let me go this way quickly. It's going to be a bit difficult because he's kind of got his back to us. Oh, sorry, it's a little bumpy here. There's lots of eroded sections in this area. But that was ridiculous. He literally just went flying and caught himself a goose. It's one of the first times I've seen a leopard hunting Egyptian goose like this. And, well, wouldn't put it past Hosana, would you? Because he's always up for a performance, isn't he? So there we go. Now, there we go. He's just sitting. No, sorry, Curse, I didn't copy you. If you can just repeat that for me. But he's now panting a little. So K6, you say he's a show-off? Indeed he is. He put on a massive show this morning for James and Ronald. And, well, now he's just decided, well, I'm going to hunt and just show off quickly. And it was amazing because we came here and I said to him, I wonder if Hosana's around. And we kind of drove up onto the dam wall. And he was looking at us as if to say, where have you been? I've been waiting here all afternoon. He was standing on the edge of the dam wall. And then he came trotting down into this little drainage line and grabbed himself a goose, as if to say, I'm going to show off for you guys because you've had a bad day. Him and I have not had the best day today at all. We've had car troubles this morning. This afternoon we've had issues in terms of, that's why we were a little bit tardy. And so it's been a good surprise to have Hosana come out and just put on a bit of a show. And like I say, it is sad to when you see an animal kind of get taken, particularly, a little baby animal like that. It's never nice. And what is surprising to me is obviously that there's no adults anywhere in this area, and why an Egyptian goose youngster is by itself. It's an odd place for it to be. Maybe there was something wrong with it already, or there's some sort of issue, but he managed to get it. And, well, it's good nutrients for Hosana, and it just goes to show how well he's taken to adult life. He's really come into his own. It's been almost a year now since he kind of has been by himself and was orphaned and kind of did his own thing, and he managed to he's managed to really kind of sort himself out and figure it out in terms of hunting. Now, Paul, you think today is Leopard Thanksgiving? Yes. Well, Hukamuri was a bit of a glutton this morning, wasn't he? It wasn't just enough to grab a warthog. He had to grab a steenbok as well. And interesting that he's managed to finish one at least, and obviously the other one was stolen. But it certainly seems like it's a leopard fiesta today in terms of food, and they're all kind of tucking in. Now, a meal like this, of course, won't fill Hosana, but it will definitely just add a little bit of nutrients, and certainly you'll get some energy from the little chase that he did to grab it. So Beck, you say you guess that an Egyptian goose tastes better than a rubber wheel. Well, I would imagine so, even though it seems as though he's gulping it down just as much as he did Ronald's tyre, because poor Ronald sustained some damage once again. Hosana's done quite a few little things to Ronald. He put his canine through the housing once, and, well, obviously we saw him this morning just destroying the tyre. And for those of you that weren't watching this morning, Ronald drove up to Hosana, and Hosana decided, well, if you're going to drive up to me, I'm going to take one of your tyres, and carried off the rubber tyre. Oh, there's some ellies also coming down towards Chitwa Dam as well. It's all happening. This is why Chitwa Dam on a sort of warm afternoon is a really great place to be. So it's not only a leopard on a kill, we now have ellies coming down to drink. Absolutely wonderful. So well done, VM. Good spot. But certainly he's kind of tucking into this, and I don't think there's anything left already. Almost, it looks as though he's eaten most of it. It wasn't a very big meal, and like I said, there'll be a lot of feathers there. There's actually not that much meat on a small Egyptian goose like that, but certainly just kind of a little appetizer for Hosana. It looks as though he's looking for more, doesn't it? He's kind of looking in the area where he grabbed it at first, and is kind of just having a little sort of scratch around. I wonder if he thinks maybe there's some more around that he can hunt. Right, well, we're going to sit with Hosana, who's probably going to be up to more antics. Well, there we go. He's off and moving once again. I wonder if there's not more of them that he's going to go and find. And while we kind of watch him amble off this drainage line, let's send you back across to the Kuchiness Overload that is with Ralph in the Mara.
Well, everyone, this is absolutely precious. All the females have returned now. The little cubs have all shown themselves. They're all excited because they've probably spent most of the day just denned up, or hiding behind a big log or in the thickets. And now that the females have returned, there's all sorts of greeting going on, lots of aloe grooming, and just look at the excitement with these little ones. That is so precious. And now the energy starts coming through. Not a care in the world, lots of playtime, and I couldn't have asked for more than this. This is too epic. It's wonderful. And I must tell you that this is now my last drive in the Mara for a little while. I will be heading back to South Africa, so this is an absolute gift for me to be with this pride of lions. The little ones going in to drink from mom. And look at that. Very special, hey? And the females were also aloe grooming, not just grooming the youngsters, they were grooming each other, re-establishing those bonds as the gregarious cats that they are, always need to be re-establishing that bond. Now, Chat Noir, you want to know why the little youngsters' eyes are blue when they're first born? Well, I think it's just down to that they change as they get older. They will be in the sunlight a lot more. So when they're young, they don't really need to have that protection of the darker coloration to their eyes, because they're normally denned up in a hole and in darker places. And it's only later when they start to hunt and they're in the real sunlight and that they start to get probably a little bit more melanin in the eyes. And then it starts going a bit darker. So it protects their eyes from the sunlight as they get older And as they start becoming more active, following the adults, it then obviously is very obvious that they need a little bit more sunlight. Now, I mean, I know from having blue eyes myself, when I was young, the optometrist told me that I would never need glasses in my life. But with the very blue eyes that I have, I spent a lot of time in the sun, and my eyes have literally been burnt. And so now they are a little bit damaged, almost like a small case of arc eyes. And that's all as a result of just the sun. But unfortunately, I'm not able to change colors like these little lion cubs are. So they're adapted, they're evolved to live out in the harsh African sun. And, well, look at that. It's just wonderful. Look at these guys. It's just too precious. And they're looking at us, looking at them, very curious, chasing little butterflies and biting on little branches. There's one off on the left there that's now decided to take a branch and use it as his little play toy. Nice to see so many of them around as well. And there he is. He's attacking that branch. So everyone, from one cat to another, I'm going to send you on down south to South Africa once again, and I think Hosana is having a little bit of bird food.
Well, he's had his bird food now. He's now decided it's time just to clean himself up. One little rover and a bird is enough for one day for now. You can also see that he's incredibly fat, so he's come off that impala kill that he had on Little Gowrie for 3-4 days, and so he's really still got quite a big tummy, and that's why he's panting so much. It's kind of humid and sticky this afternoon, and so I think he's a little bit on the warm side. Hosana, what are you up to? He's very curious this afternoon. He's kind of looking around everywhere. I wonder if it's because the Ellies are drinking that he can hear them, but he can't see them, so he's just kind of wondering, how can I go and investigate and see what's going on? But how cool is this? He is such an epic specimen, and he's getting so big now. He's starting to look more and more like a big male leopard. You know, I haven't seen him again for a few days, and every time I see him, he just seems to get larger and larger and larger. So he's such an impressive character, and I really hope he sticks around here with all these kind of dynamics that are happening at the moment in the male leopard world. You know, we had obviously Hukamuri and Djuma this morning having a little go at each other. You know, to see how this is all playing out, I hope it just doesn't affect Hosana and his ability to stay in this area, because he really is such a cool cat to have around, and he's delightful in terms of all of the things that he gets up to. I really enjoy spending time with him as well. But he seems to be just kind of a little bit uncomfortable with things at the moment. It's probably because of that full belly. He just doesn't know really where he wants to lie. He keeps getting up and moving, and he looks around everywhere. So it's almost as though he's looking for Ronald, as if to say, where's my friend that I can play? Well, Hosana, you ate him. So there's going to be no friend for a few weeks, unfortunately, until Ronald has got some running repairs. But then there will be another tire for you to start messing around with. Although I don't think tire is probably the best thing for him too often. Once in a while is all right, but we certainly don't want him eating Ronald every single time. But I think after maybe a little bit of grooming, we might find that he's going to go for a nap. I don't think he's going to walk around too much. He's obviously got a full tummy. He's just had a snack, and so I'm pretty sure he's kind of going to groom, and then it's going to be down and have a nice nap until it gets a bit cooler. Right, while we sit and be patient with Hosana and see what he gets up to. Oh, there we go. He's up and moving again, Vildi. So he's kind of going on another little mission around. And so while we follow him, let's send you back to Ralph and those beautiful lion cubs.
Well, everyone, we're still here with this little group. I mean, I can't go anywhere. It's just too entertaining. And in a moment, we are going to do an action broadcast. Just so that you know, I'm going to reintroduce myself and introduce all the new viewers, because we put that out on the platforms, on the normally on Facebook, and then you can go out and watch that at any time. And this is just perfect for that kind of scenario. So let's see what these little youngsters get up to, and we'll put that together and stick it out on Facebook. And they're stalking each other, they're doing all sorts. Welcome everybody to the Masai Mara and the Mara Triangle, to be specific. We're watching a pride of lions with all the little youngsters. My name is Ralph Kirsten. You're watching Safari Live, and this is absolutely precious. Look, there's a few females around. I think there's 4 of them here, but there's another one that's across over the plain, and she seems to possibly be looking out for some warthogs. But these females have just returned to their cubs, and that's why they're all so full of energy, because they've probably been hidden up behind a log in the thickets for most part of the day, and now that the females and the adults have returned, they are able just to let their energy out and have some fun. And this is very important play time. They do get to learn a lot when they're doing that, getting all the muscle memory that they need for when they're an adult. And so it's very entertaining to watch, but also a very important part of their lives. You can see the females with very swollen mammary glands, and that's obviously because the little youngsters have been suckling off of her. There's 2 different ages of cubs here, as the one climbs over mom, using her as a jungle gym. Now, Alfred, you're saying good morning from California. Good morning, Alfred. It is afternoon for us, but it's great that you're joining us from all the way on the other side of the world, looking at these little cubs. They are too precious, wonderful to see. The females are still looking out, potentially scanning for some warthogs that might come through the grass, but, well, these little youngsters have got not a care in the world. And they often use mommy's tail as a little plaything as well. There we go. Get it. Too cute. So it's nice just to sit and watch them. Nice to sit and watch them. Look at that. Oh, it's going to hurt, Mom. It's got very sharp little spiky teeth. Sooner or later, Mommy's going to turn around and give him a swat, I'm sure. Now, Jackie, you're saying that they're just too beautiful. They are indeed. It's absolutely wonderful to sit so close in the presence of such predators. And lions are absolutely fascinating. They are the most gregarious or sociable cat in the world. And so it's always great to be in such a big group of them. The second to them is the cheetah, and the biggest known group is 5 of them that are across the Mara River in the Greater Mara National Reserve. And so this is totally special with lions. So many cats playing all together. Look at that. Now, Joelle, you're wondering if one of the females had to be killed, would another female be able to feed the cubs, before the milk goes bad? Yes, because they are so gregarious, they can allo-suckle, and if one of those females had to die, well, they would just look after and adopt those other little cubs. So very, very special that with lions. Look at the little tag they're playing there. Now, Lauren from Pittsburgh, you want to know how old are these cubs? There's 2 groups of cubs here. These little ones here can't be older than a month. They're actually very young, and the other ones probably just over 2 months. There we go, that age there. Now, once they get to 6 months, lions really mature very quickly. At around 6 months is the time when they can almost follow the adults and go off hunting. They'll lose their milk teeth at around 3 months, and so that's when they can already start really fully feeding on meat. But at this young age, they are predominantly drinking milk from mum. But the older one is already probably eating a bit of meat. But at this age, it's probably only milk. But it's amazing how quickly they mature, and it's absolutely fascinating. So, everyone, I'm very happy that you've all been able to join me, and I'm absolutely over the moon that I've had this little experience. Now, you can go and watch this anytime on Facebook, and, well, thank you very much for joining us. We are here in Kenya, in the Masai Mara, and you've been watching Safari Live. Okay, everyone. So that was a nice little action broadcast, and just in time they've all seemed to have gone very quiet. So while we stay here and see if it hots up again, let's head you on down to South Africa and my good friend Noel, who's got one of those big animals that like to stay in the water.
Ralph, I have to say I'm very jealous of your lion cubs. I hope you're enjoying them and still enjoying the Mara. We miss you down here in South Africa. And I have a hippo who was being extremely active. He was gaping, he was rising up out of the water and opening his jaw to the full, and then he was rolling all the way around where he was, and he's now decided, because we're live, that he's just going to sit in Buffelshoek Dam, as hippos do, and have a little bit of a rest. We've got some really beautiful European swallows, barn swallows, that are dipping down and grabbing something to drink. I'm going to see if we can maybe, when they come back around, if we can, sorry about that we can maybe see them. They're coming in. It's a nice temperature right now for them to be drinking, so it's still a bit warm, but it's cooled down a little bit. And as it gets cooler, this hippo is going to come out of the water and go forage for grass. Hippos in general are grazers, although I've personally seen them eating meat up in the Masai Mara during the migration. I watched them steal a baby zebra away from a crocodile, and then I've also seen them eating meat in South Luangwa National Park in Zambia, but it's not a normal occurrence. I've seen it when there's a lot of opportunity for it, and I've seen it when there's not enough resources for them elsewhere. And it's usually with males like this one that we have here. Hippos are very territorial, and this male is always in this dam. He had a couple of friends a little while ago, but they moved off. And there's no ladies. Oh, there. We got it just there, that barn swallow right in front of the hippo. Well done. Thank you. I love swallows. Coming down from Europe, one of our migratory birds. Now, because we are doing lots of birding action today, James, who's still on his own 2 feet, no one else's feet, just his own 2 feet, has a bird that he would like to show you.
It'd be a bit odd if I was on someone else's feet, wouldn't it? What we've got there are some francolins, and we very seldom get this kind of view of francolins on foot. It's really rather special. And at this range you can see the rather remarkable colours they have. These are the uber-common crested francolins, and a little bit like the uber-common impala. They are often overlooked, despite their, I would guess magnificence might be a slightly strong term, but certainly their attractiveness and the detail in their plumage, I think, is always so impressive. Now we've come down just towards the Vuyatela Dam or Djuma Dam. So we heard some of these birds alarm calling. In fact, I can still hear some alarm calling, and I'm not sure what they're having a go at. Just listening very carefully, because Hukamori-san has not been found today after this morning's exploits, murderous exploits they were. I don't know if you watched him today. I'm sure Noelle's explained to you what she saw. But he hasn't been found, and he was heading in this direction. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's actually seen him on foot yet. I'd be quite pleased to be the first. Anyway, we're going to go and check over here and see what those birds are shouting at. While we do that, you can go back to Hosana, who ate, I think, the goose, the gosling, the last gosling from a pair of Egyptian geese. I was looking at that little gosling this morning and hoping that it would survive, and it hasn't.
Well, I'm sorry, James, if you were hoping that it would survive. It's most certainly has not survived, unfortunately, and it is now inside the belly of poor Hosana. Well, not poor Hosana. I suppose Hosana is feeling very much chuffed with himself. As you can see there, he's kind of standing with his head held high, and he's just surveying his area at the moment. He's such a funny cat. Watching him here, and he kind of moves, and then he lies down for a little bit, and then he's like, no, I don't want to lie here. Then he gets up and he moves a little bit more. Then he sees something moving, then he goes and investigates that. If the grass blows too much, then he investigates that. Then he goes to the trees and checks around there, and then he lies down again, and then he's up again. So he just, I don't think one knows what he wants to do at the moment, but he's enjoying a bit of a breeze up there as well. There's a nice little wind that's blowing, so on top of this damn wall, if he gets a little higher, he'll be able to cool himself down nicely. John Michael, you're wondering if I think Hosana will move away from this area eventually. Difficult to say. It's obviously, we're in a situation where there is a flux at the moment. There's males that are in that are not, males that we know very well, and they're not going to be very tolerant of Hosana, unfortunately. But in saying that, he is starting to get bigger, and he is starting to kind of show some signs of bulk. And so, maybe he is able to kind of sort of take a section of this area. Maybe we won't see him as much, but with Tingana kind of not pushing him out and certainly not making any attempt to get rid of Hukumuri at the moment, Hosana's maybe got a gap to try and sneak in here and just take over this little section that he's in at the moment. The thing is, though, he's going to get a lot of competition. If Tingana's not around, you're going to soon find Quarantine pushing for this area. You're going to find Hukumuri obviously moving. Djuma maybe he's going to start making inroads. So there's a lot of big males around Hosana that he's really going to have to pay attention and really kind of watch in order to stay around here. So it's anyone's guess at this stage. I really hope he does. Look at him. What's not to love about this cat? He kind of always has this happy-go-lucky feel to him. Ben, who's 9 years old. Ben, well, you ask probably one of the better questions. You want to know, where is Shadow? Ben, I would love to know myself. I have no idea where Shadow is at the moment, and it's something that is definitely a question that many are asking. I know there's been some photos put up recently on various social media platforms of Shadow. I just don't know how current those are. It often happens that guides will take photos and they will then, have a situation where they only posted a few weeks later. But we have no idea. I haven't heard of an update of Shadow. I have asked, and everyone that I've asked says no, they don't know where she is. I know that there was a sighting a few weeks ago somewhere on Little Gowrie, but since then there's been very little that I've heard. And like I say, I've asked a number of guides as to what's going on. Right, Hosana, are you going to be up? How cool will this be? If he goes up on this ledge and lies down and look at us, it's going to be just so spectacular. But for now, he's a bit undecided. He's kind of just looking around. I think it's because the adult Egyptian goose just came flying over. But how sort of African is that? Blue sky in the background, a bit of green grass, and a beautiful rosetted cat in the foreground. It's as good as it really gets, if you ask me. It's certainly a wonderful end to the week, and as good as I could have asked for. Now, there's some elephants coming as well that are going to disturb Hosana. They're just on our left-hand side, and they're slowly filtering through the bush. Look, they're not far away from where he is at all. They're coming out this way. Maybe that's why he got up and moved. You see, he's slinking now. And look at that. How cool is that? We're eye level with Hosana. He is right here. It's almost like a Ronald the Rover shot of Hosana, except it's from the car. That is so cool. Hello, boy. Oh, look at that. And the light is so perfect on him as well. You can see he's giving way to the elephants rather sharply. I think he's worked out, I'm not going to be able to stay where these elephants are about to walk, and so he's going to walk behind us. Now, I'm going to have to reposition because we are obviously can't go forward at all because he walked right past us. So while I kind of try and follow Hosana, there's a big eroded section there. I'm going to try and get out of this little eroded section and not get Jigger stuck. And so while I do that, I'm going to send you back across to Ralph and a cub that's eating a toadstool.
Look at this, everyone. This little cub, he's found himself a toadstool, and he thinks he's got himself a prize, and everyone else is trying to get it from him. But, well, it's making him cough and sneeze, and I don't think that's really what you want to be doing, buddy, because, yeah, that might make you a little bit sick. But it is quite amusing to watch, because every now and then he picks it up and there's this big cloud of dust, and it's actually the spores of the toadstool that is coming out of it. And now they're all trying to get it away from him, and just because of that, now he's protecting it. You can see all that spores around his face, full of the brown dust almost that the toadstools emit. Now they're all coming to have a look. Quite silly, really, because that wouldn't be very comfortable. As youngsters do, well, sometimes you don't really explain things, do you? It's just all in the name of fun. And that's the way they learn sometimes. I don't know if he'll be going after a toadstool in a hurry after this. It's giving him quite the coughs and splutters. Jack, you're wondering if toadstools are poisonous? They're not particularly poisonous per se, but it could give him a little bit of a cough and a sneeze, and so it's not like it's going to poison him. it's just going to probably irritate his nose and maybe his lungs. So he might actually stay coffee for quite a while after this. And you can see he's not quite happy now, but he's still protecting it. But he's got all that dust. It's almost like getting ash up your nose and inhaling it. H. Macy, you want to know what a toadstool is exactly? It's in the fungus family, and so that dust that is coming out, and when I say fungus, I mean mushrooms. You get the toadstools and the normal mushrooms, and you also get all sorts of different kinds. But this one has got like a chamber on the inside, and then all that spores and that powder that's coming out is actually like eggs. That's the way that they reproduce. So that is millions of tiny little eggs that every time when he puts his mouth around it and squashes it, well, it blows out all those spores. And so that's how they disperse and reproduce in the right conditions. But, well, now you can see he's got a bit of a cough now because he's inhaled it. So I don't think it will be very comfortable. I don't think it will be very dangerous for him. As I say, it's just very uncomfortable, and it could last for a couple of days, maybe giving him a bit of a cough. So it's not the end of the world that he's doing that, but it is quite comical. And look at them, they're all grabbing something and then chasing each other, tackling each other. And Megs, who is from FC's, actually in the back of the vehicle with us, she's also on her last drive, so she thought she'd come out with us. She just commented that it's very clear that the little youngsters, when they tackle each other, they go for the rump, and it's almost like they're practicing, like going for a zebra, going for a buffalo. It's almost exactly the same as when they would hunt. So that's what I'm saying. This play, you see, going for the rump, it's that playtime is very important for that specific reason. They get those skills that later, when they're adults, they're going to need for survival. But here, all down to play, and I think this one needs to learn a lesson that toadstools are not to be eaten. But as gregarious animals are, if you give one dog a bone, or you can give him anything. I've got 2 dogs at home, and if I want them to eat a tablet or to eat something that they wouldn't normally eat, I show it to the other one, and the other one will then immediately eat it, just because he doesn't want that one to eat it. Now, this is all fun and games, but we're going to stay here. In the meantime, I'm going to send you on down south to South Africa again with something very spectacular.
Indeed. Well, Hosana and he's joined by a whole bunch of Ellies who are having the best time playing around in Chitwa Dam. So Chitwa Dam is spoiling us this afternoon. Lots happening. There's Hosana. He's now hunting something else. I don't know what it is. I think maybe a monitor lizard that went running into a hole here because he's sniffing around. He was stalking and moving and looking, and he's looking as though he's found something, isn't it? He's kind of got a sort of very quizzical look. And there, the paw's going in to the bank. What have you got there, Hosana? I wonder if he's found something in there. Like I say, maybe a monitor lizard. We know he's hunted monitor lizards before, so maybe that's what he's after. But it's in the eroded sections, and he can't actually get himself into that area. What are you up to, boy? Look at the tail. You see the tail's now starting to twitch. He is such a funny cat. What are you doing? Now he's got... If he can get hold of it, he'll definitely try and drag it out, whatever it is. I surmise it's a monitor lizard. That's what I think it might be. But look at that light on him as well. Absolutely spectacular. And the best part about this is like I say, it's him. It's him plus I don't even know how many elephants that are spread all around. Paula, you say he's all about the small snacks today. Indeed, he's kind of given up on the big things. He had a nice... So PM says he's got the munchies. Well, maybe he's got the munchies, but he's given up on the big things. He's had a big impala during the week, so now it's just to top everything up. I think it's kind of going in the eroded sections. That's why he's moving around, trying to figure out a way. How can I get to this lizard. I'm sure it's a lizard. It can't be anything else fitting inside there. I suppose there could be baby birds that have run into those eroded sections. But I know there's a monitor lizard that spends time very close to this part of the dam wall. Now he's kind of stalking along. I feel sorry for any bird today, because if you're a bird, you're going to about to have a very bad day with Hosana around. What is he doing? He's figured out something is inside there. He's a curious cat. Now, I don't know if you can hear in the background, there are elephants absolutely trumpeting with delight because they're having the best time. All those young bulls pushing each other around. How cool is that? So it's not only a leopard that is busy stalking around, there's bull elephants playing. There's another whole herd of elephants off to our left-hand side and behind us. So there's another herd that's over there. Like I say, Chitwa Dam is absolutely on fire. There's hippos, there's beautiful blue sky, a bit of a breeze. It is just the perfect place to spend some time. Luck seems to be changing, Vildi. We seem to be doing just fine this afternoon. And I think the Ellies are still busy playing about. You can see they're chasing one another. The thing about Ellie swimming is that they have the best fun ever. Right, now we're going to show off all of these animals, not just to all of you, but I think we shall do an action broadcast as well, just because of the fact that we've got swimming ellies, we've got a leopard. It just seems to be all happening. So I'm going to hold off speaking shortly so that we can just get everybody to join us this afternoon, and more the merrier when you have sightings like this, that's for sure. Well, a very warm welcome to all of you that have just joined us for this live action broadcast. As you can see, it is a warm day in sunny South Africa and the Ellies are at play. They are having the best time in the water. They are playing, they are pushing each other around, and it's because of how warm it is. It's always good for elephants to try and get into these areas. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera today I've got Wiem, and it is not just the Ellies that we have here. We also have a game drive vehicle that is driving past us. They are also here to try and see some of the animals that are around. There is one other creature that is sitting here, and it is sitting just off to my left. So not only do we have swimming Ellies, but we have a lurking leopard as well. Now, this is a young male leopard that hangs around in this area. He's one of the more famous leopards, and look, he's stalking. You see, he's gone into stalk mode. We've already seen him kill an Egyptian goose chick here this afternoon, and now he's starting to look as though he's spotted something inside that little thicket. And I wonder what he's seen. Now, maybe it's another baby bird, maybe it's a monitor lizard, but you can see the tail is indicating that he's certainly spotted something and that he's interested in looking what's inside of that bush. So he's kind of having a little good look around and just wondering what's going on. He's a very quizzical cat. He often likes to move around and kind of go after smaller things, and so it's an absolute treat to be able to follow him. Now, I also forgot to mention that you can ask lots and lots of questions, so just remember to post your questions or comments in the section below and you'll be able to get through any, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. But how amazing is this? So we don't only have, like I say, the leopard, but the elephants are all around us. There's hippos, there's lots of birds flying around. It's a magical scene to be in, and it's a perfect place to spend an afternoon, and especially when it's warm. This is what happens, is a lot of the animals come down to water in order to just quench their thirst, as well as just to be able to kind of have a bit of fun, as you can see by these Ellies who are still having the best time. There's also now a giraffe that's just joined the scene as well. Now, Madison, you say so much action. Well, it seems like it. It seems as though animals are literally just popping out of everywhere. So there's a big bull giraffe that's come onto the scene, whole big herd of elephants that are in the corner here. So please excuse the aerial. That's from the back of the car, and that's how we are able to get all of your questions. But this is a nice herd that is starting to make their way across, and hopefully it's going to be a situation where they're going to join up with these other swimming elephants, and we're going to see everybody all kind of together. Those two young bulls are not quite yet ready to leave the swimming pool just yet. Well, in fact, there's actually three of them there, maybe four of them. There is a fourth one is popping its head up, and you'll find the young males are always like this. They love to play in these areas. They love to kind of go into the water and be quite boisterous and push each other around. And it's much like teenage kids at a swimming pool. You know, you let them loose when it's a hot day and everybody goes a little crazy. And so the Ellies just have an absolute whale of a time. Of course, it upsets the hippos a little bit. Ramit, you say it looks like a family day spa. It is very much like a family day spa, isn't it? There's kind of a bit of action all over the place. There's a big herd of elephants together. There's, the allies in the water kind of going after each other. There's the hippos also enjoying the spa day as well. So there's a bit of everything happening. Now, our leopard is still sitting there. He's not really started stalking too intently. I think he spotted something and it probably slinked off. Bill, you're wondering who this leopard's mother is? Well, this leopard's mother has probably had one of the most famous female leopards of all, and her name was Kruger. Look, you see how he's leopard crawling along the bank? I wonder what he's after. I'm sure there must be a bird or a lizard down below that he's looking at. Now, he has to be very, very careful because in this water point here are very big crocodiles. There's 2 big crocodiles here that could be very dangerous to him. So he needs to be a little careful about what he's doing and how close he actually gets to the water. And so he hopefully is going to stop a little bit further away, because talking about his mother taught him a very valuable lesson about a year ago. I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago to the day, that he actually was down close to water with his sister, and his mom came in and pulled them away from that area because there was a crocodile in the water, and she was hissing at the crocodile, and it was almost a lesson to the cubs that you need to be very careful when you go down to big water points like this. And so he's kind of being a little bit more wary. Hopefully he doesn't venture too close, because like I say, a crocodile would definitely latch onto him. Now, Bianca, you're wondering why all the animals are so close together. Well, there's 2 reasons for it. One is, like I say, it's a very warm day today, which means that all the animals are coming down for a late afternoon drink. They've lost a lot of moisture through the day, trying to stay cool in the form of, sweating, or in the fact that they've got to kind of stand in the sun, and particularly something like an elephant. And so that attracts them to water. The second thing that we have is that on this big open clearing off to the left-hand side, you see a number of big trees. Hippos are busy talking as well. So those number of big trees at the moment are all fruiting. Now, the fruit on those trees, it's called a marula tree. Those fruits are very nutritious and very tasty, and that attracts a lot of the elephants. You'll find that giraffe don't normally feed on them, but every now and then will, and a number of other antelope species will also eat them. What that then means is that there's a lot of prey for something like a leopard, and that's why the leopard then comes in as well. And so that's why everybody's close together. The reason the elephants aren't too worried about the leopard is because the elephants are far too big for a leopard to be going after, especially a younger male like this. He's not going to challenge big bull elephants or even young male elephants. They're far too large and too strong for him. So you have a situation where, he's not worrying the elephants are not worrying him, and that's why everybody's kind of close together. Now, Dory, you say this is on your bucket list of places to go. Well, Dory, I hope one day you will be able to get out here. It is absolutely phenomenal to be in the wilds of Africa. We are so fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time out here, and hopefully you are loving seeing a bit of Africa. Now, has just gone in on a couple of birds. There's actually 4 different species of bird there. So we have the big one with its wings open, called an open-billed stork, that is opening its wings out to try and just get a bit cooler, much like a cat would pant or a dog would pant. So that open bill is opening its wings just to catch the breeze. Now, behind it to the right is a common greenshank, which is bobbing along. And then in front of the common greenshank is a 3-banded plover, which is the one sort of running a little bit more to the right now. And then all the birds sitting down are white-faced whistling ducks. So they're also around, and they make the most beautiful whistling call when they all kind of fly up into the air. So nice to have lots of different bird species. And there's our leopard. He's up and moving again. What have you seen? I wonder what's there. I think maybe there's a bird or something that he's trying to follow. You can see the flies are irritating him a bit as well. His coat is constantly twitching, and that's because of those little insects that are landing on him. There's a number of what we call biting flies at the moment, and the biting flies are very irritating. They hurt when they kind of get onto your coat or your skin. So, Michael, you're wondering, is this really live? Michael, to quote my good friend Brent Leo Smith, who is another one of our presenters, this is 100% live. And so we are coming to you from Africa. And hopefully, Michael, you have some questions that you would like to know about any of the animals that we've seen this afternoon so far. So the elephants or the leopard or the hippos or any of those kind of things. And you'll be able to then ask away, and we will be able to answer them for you, just to show you how live it actually is. Now, there's our boy just peering through the bushes. Is there something in there? I wonder if it's something in the bushes itself that he's busy watching at the moment. Certainly seems interested in something in there. Are you going to come out, Hosana? Now, this male, we call him Hosana because Hosana is the little chief or little prince. And so it's because of his kind of calm demeanor and the fact that he was born to this very famous female who was the kind of queen of this area that he got this royal title. Right. Now, I think he's possibly found himself a little shady patch where he's going to lie down and just take a rest. And so we're going to carry on with our afternoon, and we're going to leave you all here. But remember that you can catch us on wildsafariLive.com, and it is an absolute pleasure to have had you all with us. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll leave you with one last view of the beautiful scenery at Chitwa.